This is the one Mercedes-Benz that really excites me, and it's because of that six-cylinder engine that's sitting under the hood. And to be honest, not just the six-cylinder engine, but also because this is pretty much the most emotional car that they made in terms of the design as well. The new CLE Coupe is simply gorgeous in its standard form. Everything about it screams no compromise on sporty design. And just staring at it from the angle that you guys are looking at now, how nice does it look in this Magno graphite grey car? So today I'm going to give you a quick recap about what makes the new CLE what it is. Where does it stand and what is it trying to be for us, the Mercedes-Benz customer? And I will explain that to you fully. We'll go over what engines are available. The main thing today is driving this six-cylinder and seeing what it's like, because we've been so excited about finally having a cool engine back in a Mercedes-Benz. And then I will also fill you in a little bit on what you might expect in the AMG cars, and I've got a bit of an update for you on that as well. So let's dive in and check out the brand new CLE 450 4MATIC. So guys, today's episode of RBR is once again sponsored by returning sponsor, The Ridge. This is the company that's redefined our understanding of what we expect from our wallets. If you've been considering a Ridge wallet, now is the best time because they've got an incredible summer sweepstake on in partnership with Hennessy. Without spending $1, you could be in for the chance to win a brand new, fully upgraded Ford Hennessy Bronco, or if you prefer, $75,000 in cash. You get a bonus entry for every $1 that you spend on the Ridge website. And if you get Hennessy products, you get up to 1,000 entries. And of course, if you use the link ridge.com/RBR or the code RBR, you'll get 10 bonus entries on checkout as well. And you guys know how awesome the Ridge products are. You can hold up to 12 cards and it keeps it nice and slim. So when you chuck it in your pocket, it does not bulge at all. And the same is true of our Hennessy version here. This is the Hennessy version. It also comes with RFID blocking technology, so no one can steal your money wirelessly. You got the choice of the strap or the money clip that comes in the box. And then of course we've got the Ridge key cases. Here's the Hennessy one again. It securely holds up to 6 keys within here, stops them from jangling, and it can go onto your keys, and there's an additional clip for it to go into your belt here. So guys, that's the new Ridge wallet and key case with Hennessy. Remember to use the link ridge.com/RBR or my code RBR. You'll get 10% off your order and 10 extra bonus entries to the sweepstakes. There's never been a better time to buy Ridge. A huge thanks to them for sponsoring this episode, and to you guys for always supporting our regular sponsors and supporting the channel. And now back to the episode. So guys, CLE is one of only two-door coupes that are now available at Mercedes. One being the brand new AMG GT coupe, which is also a 2-door and a 2+2, and one now this. And both of these cars have a job of replacing a plethora of 2-door 4-seat cars that have come before them, like the S Coupe, like the C Coupe, like the E Coupe. So a lot of weight being placed on both of the cars, but none more so than the CLE, because it's having to replace 2 cars that were massive sellers in the past for Mercedes-Benz, and trying to please 2 separate customer bases who are looking for different but similar things. So the C-Class customer, we had a smaller car, a sportier car, but a car with less luxuries and less in terms of technology and less in terms of practicality as well. And with the E-Class Coupe, we had a bigger car, but one that was nowhere near as sporty as our C-Class. The CLE, it's trying to meld all of that together while bringing in the heritage of all the amazing 2-door coupes of Mercedes' past in terms of giving you an emotional design. Design-wise, I think they've really hit the nail on the head, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. But in terms of what they're bringing to C-Class and E-Class owners, well, for both of them, we have now got a bigger car than we've ever had in the past, both versus C Coupe and E Coupe. So it's larger than the last E Coupe. That means we've got more space inside and a similar space in terms of boot room, which is aces for C-Class customers, and it's good because E-Class customers don't get a downgrade in that sense. Now, Mercedes have tried this in the past with the CLK. Back then we didn't have an E Coupe and a C Coupe, we just had that one vehicle, and it sold well, but I think it kind of fell flat because the quality of the product wasn't quite there, the build quality. So we went to C Coupe and E Coupe, but now things are different in terms of technology, and we can achieve the best of both worlds. More comfort and more practicality, and that's really what the CLE is trying to do. Why have so many models in the lineup when one can achieve the best of two things? But we've got a more emotional design. This is more like a W205 on steroids, which is a good thing. It kind of looks like the previous C63 in terms of the body shape and the width and the power domes and the arches and everything. But this is just a standard Mercedes-Benz car. This is not the AMG. The AMG will have a unique body, as I'll show you in a minute, so stick around for that. So you've got the best of both worlds. You've got a larger car, but the sportiness in terms of design of the C-Class. But that doesn't just mean that the larger car is going to be any less dynamic, because Mercedes-Benz say that they have really put a lot of effort into making this car as dynamic as possible in its standard form when it comes to drivability as well. So in that regards, we have a standard sport suspension available and a further adaptive suspension as an option. We've got a whole host of engines available as well. You can see the list of them up here, which range from 4-cylinder units all the way up to this fantastic CLE 450. This has got that lovely 6-cylinder engine, 381 brake horsepower, 500 Newton meters, and a respectable 0 to 60 of 4.4 seconds. The weight of this car is around about 1900 kilos, which is on par with its main rival of the 440i xDrive. So it's not like we've got a fatter, heavier Mercedes-Benz car. So I'm glad that they've kept the weight where it should be in terms of the competition. The car also benefits from 2.5-degree rear wheel steer and adaptive dampers. So this is great. Again, that element of trying to keep the car as dynamic as possible, even though it's grown in size. And rear wheel steering and active dampers, of course, massively going to help. And we will see that later when we go on a drive. There will be plug-in hybrids available as well, as you saw in our engine list, and these will come further down the line. Of course, these cars are going to be heavier, but they'll have the ability to have some electric range as well. And they'll be packaged better than their predecessors in terms of giving you more boot space, despite having a bigger battery in the back. Of course, there is a cabriolet available as well. You guys have seen our first look at that car, which was actually the exact same spec, which looked fantastic. And the only difference between that car and this car is that A, you won't get the plugins, and B, basically you don't get rear wheel steer. Otherwise, your engine portfolio and most of the technology, etc., are very, very similar. So it's nice that you can kind of choose which body type you prefer, and you're not going to lose out on that much. Now, speaking of design, it's only going to get better. I've seen some spy shots of our AMG cars that have now got less camo on them than they had before. And the first thing that we can immediately tell, unsurprisingly, is that we've got a unique body. So front and rear are widened. But the best thing is, that's not just for the 63. From what I can see, I might be wrong, I think the 53 is sharing the exact same wide body as our 63. Why is this a good thing? Because I reckon the 53 is going to have a new 6-cylinder AMG unit. Obviously, it's going to have less power than the 63, but I think the 63 will maintain that 4-cylinder hybrid that I'm not personally crazy about. So I'll be able to buy this car, and you will, as a 6-cylinder AMG, but with the full body and all of that lovely design. The only difference, I think, being the fact that you'll have round pipes on the back instead of the quadrupedal ones. So this is nice, and we saw this happen with GLC 43 and GLC 63 recently, so I think it's a trend that's happening now, and it's not a bad thing. You can choose now the lower level engine, but have that nice full-on design as well, which is the right way to go with this. What can we expect with the 53? I think, like I said, the new 6-cylinder engine. How much power is it going to be? I'd like for it to touch 500. Will it? I think it will. I think they'll be punchy with it, because you will have a 680 brake horsepower 4-cylinder hybrid thing sitting above it, which is going to be very, very fast. But will it be emotional? Will they improve on that? Only time will tell. Today is not about that. Today is about how emotional is this base level 450 6-cylinder 4MATIC. Because in the past, your standard Mercedes-Benz cars have been good for luxury, but dynamism, even in the C Coupe, how emotional you get driving that car, was again only up to a point. Can the CLE change that? Spoiler, it definitely can. Let's jump in and see how it does. Right guys, before we set off, there is something that I discovered within the E450 6-cylinder when I drove it that gave the car a bit more of an exciting soundtrack when you're driving in sport mode. And the way you access it is, or in fact, what we'll do first, we're first going to turn the car on normally so you can hear the normal sound. And now, if we go into settings, and you see this option here within vehicle, progressive sports sound, listen to what happens. You should be able to hear the engine sound a little bit more now. It's augmented a bit by microphones and sound coming through the speakers. I know a lot of people don't like it, but as I showed you, you can turn it off. But it does give the car quite a powerful sounding soundtrack. And I really liked it in the E-Class, and I'm happy that the CLE 6-cylinder has it as well. Anyway, that's the first party trick. Now, I want to see what this drives like. Right guys, so let's see what this drives like. This is a really important car for us actually, because I think it will eventually herald, oh that sounds good, listen to that. Oh that sounds really good, doesn't it? It's got quite the deep rumble to it. Obviously that's the progressive sports sound augmenting our inline. But that sounds wonderful. And this engine is so smooth. It's my first impression of it. It's even more responsive in this CLE. Obviously the E-Class a bit heavier. Oh, and this is actually quite fun to drive fast. I can feel the rear wheel steer immediately. Oh, yes, this is a fun car. See, this is why this car excites me, because obviously it's an emotional coupe. The design is emotional. The engine that they've chosen for the top level model so far is an emotional one. As I said, that the AMG one will hopefully have a 6-cylinder in the 53 as well. So as Mercedes and as AMG fans in general, this is a very emotional car, and that's what a two-door coupe needs to be. That's what Mercedes were aiming for with this car. So we're off to a really good start here. The combination of this 6-cylinder engine and the rear wheel steer, the 4MATIC, is pretty nice. This is an agile car. It's a very, very similar weight to something like a 440i X-Drive from BMW as well. So we're not talking a massively heavier car, which these days Mercedes and AMG are doing quite a lot. So that's a good start, but bear in mind, all of that so far has been in comfort mode. We are now going to use dynamic select here to go into sport, which should tighten things up even more. I'm going to change my display in the front to the lovely red sport display as well. That looks better. Rear wheel steer, making short work of corners like this. Still sounds good. Engine response is even more responsive, obviously, in sport mode, so that's nice. It's a nice feeling. It's a really nice engine, this. The other thing you'll find with the sound is when you come off the throttle a little, you do get these little kind of burbles, and I wouldn't call them pops and bangs. They're little like burbles on overrun, which again is quite nice. And for a standard Mercedes-Benz car, this is quite dynamic. The steering feedback is okay. It's not at AMG level, and it's not designed to be either. But for a car that you will be driving sportily occasionally, you know, it's perfectly decent. Certainly not hindersome in any way. What is hindersome, predictably, is the gearbox, where it's okay, you know, it's kind of laggy, and you kind of expect that because this is geared to be more comfortable. So I would leave an automatic where it's doing a perfectly fine job of, you know, providing the power, shifting up and down by itself. My takeaway immediately from driving this is that this is a car that is really fun to drive fast. As a car that is not a full-fat AMG, and it's really impressed me in that regard. It's given me a lot of hope for what we can hope from a more sporty version. But if we ignore talk about the more sporty version for a minute, this is a 4MATIC that is incredibly capable. Just the right amount of power to enjoy daily. 381 brake is nice. Of course, you've got the 4MATIC system, so all year round usage as well. I'm surprised by how compliant the suspension is, even currently in sport mode. On the massive 20-inch wheels all around, it's handling things really well. The roads are pretty decent as always in Spain, but you get an idea of kind of how compression and rebound can judder a car when it hasn't got good suspension, but this definitely does. I'm pushing it now and I can hear tyre squeal everywhere, but It's not like the car is unhinged. I don't feel like I'm getting a load of understeer. It's genuinely fun to drive fast. Eventually you are aware that you're in a Mercedes-Benz and you do need to calm down, but I kind of don't want to because I'm having a lot of fun in this. It's more fun than I probably had in any standard Mercedes C or E coupe, which is saying quite a lot because I've had some nice cars in the last generations. So definitely it's achieving that. I think the main benefit for the E-coupe owners is you're not losing out on your space, your practicality, the type of tech you get in the car, but what you are gaining is the performance, the agility, and the fun, which is sorely lacking. C-coupe owners, it's a different kettle of fish. What you have is a car that's got a lot more in terms of tech. Let me give you an example. Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Give me a massage.
Okay, just activating the massage for you now.
So, we've never had massaging seats as a singular example in the C coupe before. This is something that normally we'd associate to E coupe, S coupe, etc. But that's a luxurious addition to this car. In terms of the actual system, as we've explored, you get, the top level of MBUX with all of the apps that you get in the latest E-Class. In terms of comfort, I think this is a lot more comfortable than a normal C coupe. The suspension systems that Mercedes use now, that much more clever than they were 8 years ago. Able to handle bumps and uneven road so well. And if we knock it back down into comfort mode and everything kind of calms down even further, then you see that this is a really nice cruiser, which is not something that you would really liken to a standard C coupe even before. They were a little bit harsh. Being a C-Class, you would kind of expect that. CLE is not like that. It's a more grown-up car. It's nice and comfortable. I'm getting a massage at the moment. I've got a massive heads-up display. I've got the best tech. So either way, I think a big upgrade from either C coupe or E coupe for the different purposes that those cars were. This car kind of comes in and melds those into a car that seems to be better at everything. I think personally it looks absolutely stunning. And while I wasn't really going to consider a car of this generation for myself, I will now really be interested in what a CLE 53 potentially could bring to the table as an emotional car, but a really good daily as well. Not a full fat AMG, but something just in the middle, perfect for daily duties. But when you knock it into a sportier setting, it actually has the chops and the emotion, which is so important, even in this 450, to put a smile on your face. I must say, I'm impressed with the dynamics. I'm impressed how well the car is handling itself, despite being a standard Mercedes-Benz car. There's not that much body roll. The rear wheel steer really helps, despite the fact it's a bigger car than either of the ones before it. And I'm being kind of slightly harsh on the steering. That could be better, but I'm sure it's better than the 440i. I don't like the way that the xDrive handles steering once xDrive is in a BMW. This just feels better to me. This car, I think, is going to give the 4 Series some real issues, because I think it's undoubted that it's better looking on the outside. It has all the best cues that Mercedes-Benz have developed in terms of design over the last few years. And I think BMW have got a really tough fight on their hands. And it's nice. We need a bit of competition, so bring it on. And I hope they bring it on in the AMGs as well. Most of all, I really enjoy driving this car at the type of speeds that you would enjoy a daily. When you're doing 30 to 50 miles per hour and you've got a nice powerful soundtrack. I know it's augmented. You can turn it off if you don't want it. I personally like it. It's not like it's playing on the outside of the car. It's for my ears, and it's essentially giving me what the engine is actually sounding like. So I'm okay with that. The seats are comfortable. I'm wishing I had some buckets with a bit more lateral support though, which I'm sure we'll get in the AMG. But these are nice. These are complementing the other side of this car, which is a bit more luxury. When you spec the car properly, like this interior, with the brown and the fantastic Magna Graphite grey on the outside, then you've got a car that absolutely looks the part as well. And of course, pricing going up on cars like these So they have to give you bang for buck in terms of the quality of the spec that you can end up with, and you know, the exterior and the interior finish on this is top notch. It really is. It's the best that they can manage. It's not like they're holding something back from their higher up cars. This car looks really good. I say there's no pops and bangs, and then I discover there's actually quite a few when you come off overrun, when you're revving quite high. Can you guys hear that? I'm gonna go as far as saying this sounds 3 to 4 times better than the C63 4-cylinder thingamajig. I know it's all fake, but I don't care. I prefer it. Even in comfort mode, even though things have kind of relaxed a little bit, you're still very much aware that this is a sporting coupe, and I like that. And I mean that in the sense that the steering is still direct, it's still got some nice rigidity. You know, it's still playing the part of sports coupe, even if the suspension and everything is, you know, a little bit more comfortable. And I like that. That's exactly what I want if I bought a 2-door sports coupe from Mercedes. So guys, that was my first drive of the new generation CLE, all new model from Mercedes-Benz. I really like it, as I'm sure you guys can see, and I'm very excited to see what comes in the future in this model lineup. If you've enjoyed this episode of RBR, I hugely appreciate any support you can give the channel, be it subscribing, liking the video, everything really helps, and I'll see you guys for the next one.